there's a difference between understanding your calling and understanding what you're good at.
Welcome to Hello Kind Soul Podcast, where we raise the vibration of kindness on a global scale. Subscribe to the channel and follow us on all major platforms for your daily reminder to lead with love. Welcome to Hello Kind Soul Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ebony Green. Today, we're going to have a conversation with an amazing human that works with women all over the world to go for six-figure jobs, but more importantly, she empowers folks to know their worth and their value out loud. So I'm happy to introduce Susanna Alba.
Hey, y'all. Hello, hello. I'm excited to be here, Ebony. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're actually a superhero for me in thinking about how many young people, particularly women, live in the world and don't understand their worth.
Yeah.
And so seeing the way you navigate has been one of those things that you can't ignore. It's like you are absolutely a force to be reckoned with. And I think we're living in a world where fake is really problematic. So I want to start with, one, you sharing your company, a little bit about you,
Sure.
any things that places people can find you.
Sure. So, hi, everyone. My name is Susanna Briscoe Alba. I am the founder and CEO at Dunamis Coaching and Consulting Services, where we teach you how to land six-figure roles through leadership development and career strategy. I got that thing on lock, okay? That's who we are. But a little bit about me, my background is in higher education and sales. And I've always been a teacher at heart. I've been born and raised around teachers and educators. And so when life happened for me, I'm going to say now almost 5 years ago, funny enough, I work down the street from here.
Wow.
At a liberal arts college that's not too far. And on the way home from that job one day, I got T-boned. And I thought that in that role, I was in my dream job. I had made it. And in serving in that role, there was this unique agitation, is what I'm going to say, that there was more to my story. And I didn't know what that looked like. And I remember being very resistant to that whole idea of walking away from this position because, y'all, I was comfortable. Okay, I was making six figures. I was the head girl in charge. Like, I was the one. And I felt like this was everything that I had prayed for and I wanted. And I felt like God was like, this is it, girl, bye. And so on my way home, I got T-boned. Took me out of work for 6 months. My team morale went down the toilet. The organization had reorged while I was out. So when I came back, I was not necessarily leading my team. Wow. And that led to, okay, you've made me really uncomfortable. And now it's time for me to move, but I'm really comfortable and scared. And I had to learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable if I was going to move into what you see now. And I realize now that what I went through was just ammunition, if you will, to be able to speak from a place of confidence, but also lived experience, because everything on social media is starting to feel real fake, right?
100%.
Like, everybody has a filter, everybody looks some kind of way. Like, you see people in person and you're like, who are you? This don't match. And then here comes this individual. You can't deny my fro. You can't deny my New York in me. Like, when you meet me, this is what you get. And the same person that you see online is the same person that you see when you meet me, you know? And that's one of the things that has been really refreshing, also terrifying, because it's like, okay, she's like real. And I'm like, oh, baby, I'm real, you know? So that's a little bit about me, how I ended up in this place. And now we have an online community on IG where it's 930K strong. LinkedIn is about growing to 4,000. We're developing on YouTube and just taking the world by storm.
And tell them the name of your company.
Dunamis, which stands for dynamite. It is the Greek foundation word for dynamite.
Man, she's amazing, y'all. So it's funny. I've never met her. I follow her online like you do. And so when I met her, I was like, man, you exactly who you said you were. Like, this is great. And kind of to your point, like, you see people and then you meet them. You know, I recently had an experience where I met my hero and they're not my hero anymore. Yeah. And I was like, wow, okay, right?
Yeah.
So I have so many questions.
Go for it.
How do you help other people really understand their worth. And off camera, we were having a conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be a great place to start, because one of the things I value about people is when you say you are who you are, then you do the very things you try to teach others to do.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so I think that story will help us dig in.
So when I talk about understanding your worth, I think that there is a lot of head knowledge that is shared and not enough lived experience that is talked about. So offline, we were talking about a brand who had reached out to me in terms of wanting to work with me. And really, the biggest thing is that they wanted access to my audience. And if there's one thing that I have been very aware and intentional about is protecting the audience that follows me. Because if you follow me, you'll notice I don't do a lot of brand deals. I don't want them to leverage the dollar, the mind, and the access of the incredible community that I have and then give them subpar service because you're not going to make a fool out of me. So this organization had reached out and they were like, hey, we want to give you exposure and we want to work with you. We think your audience would be really great. And so I said, okay, well, let's have this conversation. Y'all, they came back to me and they were like, oh, well, we are willing to pay you $600 for a like 60-second reel. Now, when I was starting, it would have been like, wow, $600 like for 60 seconds. That's not bad, right? But then I had to go back and look at my receipts. And that's one of the things that I feel like, especially as women and women of color, we don't capture enough of what we do. So as women, we have been trained to take care of, fix for, carry everyone else. And then when clients get to me that we're working on what their next step is going to be like, they just don't know because they've been on autopilot. So in that experience, it was an opportunity for me to pull my own receipts. I'm always telling people, pull your receipts, make sure you know what you're doing, all this kind of stuff. And when I started to pull the information, it was like, okay, in the last month, my content has been before 3 to 5 million people. And I started to search like, what holds 3 to 5 people? And I couldn't find anything. So if you're watching this podcast and you're like, I know something that holds 3 to 5 million, let me know, because I couldn't find anything. And then I was like, okay, so obviously the content is powerful and it's reaching people. More importantly was that 84% of my audience are women between the ages of 25 and 45, which also maximizes their buying power. And of that audience, 89% of them were new followers to me.
Wow.
So once I started to pull the numbers, it was like, okay, your $600 just don't make no sense. Okay? Because I have a marketing background and I remember how much it costs me just to be able to put a simple campaign for an open house. We would be spending anywhere between $15,000 to $20,000 on a single day.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, I cannot in full integrity tell you, hey, make sure you know your worth. Make sure you own up to it. Make sure that you can speak about it. And then in the hindsight, just be like, okay, I'm going to take this because I need the exposure. And it was like, Susanna, you need exposure for what? Who you exposing to? You know? And then the other like part of me, y'all, I'm born and raised in the Bronx. So there's a side of me that's very real. Okay. So there was a part of me that was like, oh no, we popping out. Okay. We're going to show all of the things. And regardless of what happened, I divorced myself of what the outcome would have been. The biggest thing that I considered a win was that I advocated for myself. And for a long time, if you looked like me and you advocated for yourself, you were problematic, you were aggressive, and you were difficult to work with. Have you ever heard that?
Absolutely.
So now that the tables have turned and I am now behind the face of my brand and encouraging people to own their worth, to show up unapologetically, I very well could not sit behind and just be like, okay, I'm just going to do this, you know, because then I'm a hypocrite. And that aggravates me. Hypocrisy aggravates me.
I love that story because, and that's why I was like, we got to talk about this on camera, because I think so many, particularly women, are always told, just take the scraps.
Yeah.
And people give other folks 20 times that, 30 times that.
Oh, yeah.
Without even blinking with less numbers.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I felt like it was a really good way to highlight, like, Not only do you know your worth, you go 10 toes down on it.
Absolutely. You want me to blow your mind even more?
Absolutely.
So they had made the mistake and attached a invoice for a previous creator and they made the mistake of sending it to me. So I thought that it was like their creative brief.
Mm-hmm.
And in that invoice, I learned that they paid another creator $20,000
Wow.
for that same type of work that they were asking me to do for $600. And then I was like, okay, that's enough information right there. But the researcher and educator in me was like, let me go see who this person is. Let me go see what we're working with. Because I wanted to see, am I comparing myself apples to apples? And is it like, am I doing too much? Maybe I'm being extra. And I wasn't even asking anything near $20,000. But here's the difference. This individual had a platform on TikTok, right? They, at the time of me looking, it may be different now, they had maybe 20,000 followers.
Wow.
And they were non-melanated. So I'm going to just leave that right there for you to make your own kind of decisions.
Yeah.
Surrounding the disparity. And this is not uncommon to what I see our women in the workplace deal with.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you should just be happy that you
even got a seat.
Right. Or you should have the mentality of, I just want to get my foot in the door. And I've gotten to a point where it's going to sound really cocky, but I've gotten to a point where it's like, if you're not going to let me in, I'm going to build my own space. And I will invite seats and have tables for those who are willing to be a part of this space. Notice how I'm not saying color or anything like that, but don't play in my face. Because just because you think that you have access to certain things does not mean that I will not find a way to build that. And because I'm so competitive and because I have this New York in me, I'm not only going to show up, I'm going to show out. And so just be ready.
Yeah. Well, it's wild because when I said, it's like they want you to be grateful that you have a seat, but you built the table.
Okay.
So y'all just know the reason we have folks like Susanna on this podcast and so many other amazing humans is that we want you to have access to different types of people and to understand we're all telling you the same thing.
Yeah.
Like only you can block your blessings.
For sure.
Like, and what I find amazing is how quickly God showed you the difference. Like we offered you and then we accidentally sent you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you already made your decision and now here's proof that your decision makes a
it's
ton
valid.
of sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Where did you get when or where did you get to the place where you knew exactly who you were? Like you really, did you grow up always that? Or did you develop that inner knowing?
I think it depends who you ask this question to, right? Because I think my family would be like, she's always been this person. Okay, since 5, she's been terrorizing us. But I think it got to a point where I had to really dig deep after that accident. I was really hurt by the way that things happened at this place that I had learned to love and grow in, that they were so just, it's almost like, okay, she's gone, so whatever, you know? And I was really hurt by that because I loved higher education and I still do. I think that higher education changed my life and it can for many. So I had to come to grips with the fact that that was wrong and my feelings were valid, but I was not going to let a stage become a state.
A stage become a state, y'all.
So the stage that I was going through was difficult, but I have not been called or created to live in a state of difficulty. The difference. So in that kind of time frame, I had to reassess like, okay, Susanna, what do you want to be known for? And what has been true from the very beginning? And I've always been a great speaker. And again, some of this is going to sound like so cocky, but like I've been doing this for a long time. So the first couple of times that you saw me go live, y'all, they were horrible. Okay, I was talking about this, that, and everything. But I leave those things on there so you can see the progression. Because now you'll see me go live and it's like, my goodness, you're so comfortable. You could talk to anybody. But at the beginning, I was like, hi, my name is, you know. And so when it came to understanding like who I am and who I wanted to be known for. I wanted people to encounter Susanna and anything that was surrounding Susanna to feel seen, valued, heard, and equal. It's the reason why that's the tagline for our agency, because throughout my career, there were moments where I did not feel that. And I want other young women or other women just in general to see me and say, if it can happen for her, it can happen for me. And I really do believe that God exposes us to different things, not to tease us, but to help us to see what's possible. And so in that season of having to be home, having to reassess, because if you're a high achiever, you're always on the go, right? And you don't really always have time to kind of think through what is my next, or not even what is my next, what is in the right now and what is the blessing in this season. So during that time that I was home, it was like, all right, you've known that it's time for you to leave from this role. You are scared to do so. So now you have to sit with that. And what does the next look like? And what's crazy was that in that time, I had taken over this position. We were doing great right before I felt like we were going to go into an event that was going to put the staple on who this department was and what we did. The pandemic hit. And I had to move everything from in person to virtual in a matter of weeks.
Wow.
Okay. We were expecting close to 600-700 people on campus. It was going to be the largest event we had. And within weeks, I had to move everything virtual. And I remember being and now I look back on it and I'm like, oh, this was
It was a gift.
I get it. Yeah, I get it now. And so I remember that first time, hundreds of people logged on to the Zoom, and I was watching the numbers go up, and I got nervous. Like in person, I don't get nervous, but virtually I was like, are they going to be able to connect? Is it going to feel good? Is it going to be genuine? You know? And it's like success leaves clues. So in that season of identifying who I was, I knew two things to be true. I know how to teach well. I know how to be practical. And I know how to build relationships, whether in person or virtually, because I have done that before. So that was a long answer.
No, but I think it's important because I think the other group of folks we have on the podcast, some of them are entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And so, you literally, I've literally watched her, y'all, build this just
zero.
Massive following from zero.
Yeah.
In a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And so I one of the questions I'm curious, and they might be, is how did you decide this was it?
Oof. I think for me, it was okay, well, how bad can it be? Right? I've done the 9 to 5. I've done that whole route. And I thought, okay, if it gets really bad, then I can always go back to that. Right? But there's a difference between understanding your calling and understanding what you're good at. I was good at being in higher education spaces, in working with students and families, in breaking down financial aid packages in Spanish. You have not lived until you've tried to do that, okay? Because that's hard. But I also knew that there was something deeper within me, that there was more, right? And so when I decided to do this, I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself, I remember telling my husband, I'll give myself a year. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. And I'll go find a new opportunity. And my husband remember, I was at a very cush 6-figure role that I walked away from. Okay. It wasn't like they told me I had to leave. I mean, I could see the writings on the wall, but I made that decision. So my paycheck looked real different. And my husband was just like, we have a whole kid and a whole mortgage and a whole lot. So I'm giving you a year. And I was just like, okay. And then I started to observe, in the spaces that I was at, I was like, oh, I've done that before. And I've helped people with this before. And I've been in leadership before. So I'm just going to share about those things. I have a son who is the light of our life, and he's also autistic. And I know the realities of mamas who are working and trying to thrive and are ambitious, but also have children who have special needs. And sometimes there's a tension of how much do I pursue that? And I felt like in that year, it was okay, I get to reclaim the time that I lost with him at the forefront. Because he was in daycare, y'all, at 3 months, 12 weeks. And I was back right down the road working, you know? So I was like, okay, I want to be able to be present for my son and also be present for what work looks like for me. So redefining work was a whole experience. But now I got clear about what works for me and how I enjoy working. And now is what you see.
So we talk to a lot of highly successful humans.
Yeah.
And
which was really intimidating, okay?
Well, you're one of them, which is why you're here. And when I say successful, not only like title, money successful, but just like heart successful, energy successful. Like your energy is so infectious. I'm like, of course people pay you to help them because I believe you're really going to help me.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
But in that, there's a lot on your shoulders, right? We're carrying a lot, especially in any leadership position.
Sure.
So my question for you is, how do you stay balanced? Like, what do you do to keep seeking joy, to stay balanced so that you can show up and be this incredible CEO that leads this company that supports thousands, tens of thousands of people?
The first thing is tapping into my faith, right? Making sure that I keep first things first. This is a blessing and an opportunity that I never want to take for granted. So I live in a perpetual state of gratitude because if it were gone tomorrow, then at least I had the blessing of reaching one. That was always my goal. Can I reach one? And I think that when you're able to identify who is the one that you want to speak to, and you're moving from that place of gratitude and genuineness, then everything else will just be added. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing in terms of making sure that I can be present was also realizing that I don't have to do it by myself, which is something that as women, especially as women of color, and no shade to the men, but as women, that's something that we've been conditioned to believe, that you have to figure it out on your own, that you can do it all by yourself. And there's strength in numbers for a reason. I also am very mindful of who I allow access to me in certain seasons. Because I think when you go into the entrepreneurial space, the easiest time to kill a dream is when it's in seed form. And sometimes folks are scared and they're projecting their fear onto you. And then you start believing, well, maybe my business is just not going to work out. Maybe this is just kind of like a pie in the sky. And it's like, if it keeps coming back to you, my love, it's for you. Your calling is for you. It's not a conference call. And I had to learn how to stand 10 toes down in that truth instead of trying to seek validation from external sources. So that's the way that I work.
I love that. Listen, it's so funny. Like I laugh some days when I reach out to people and they say yes. And I'm like, really? For real? And this idea of like, hello, kind soul for me is like, how do you lead every space you're in? And so I've started to ask people, like, when you walk into a room or you meet someone, what do you think leads you? Like, what do you think shows up first in that interaction?
Yeah. Can I be real?
Sure.
Because I've been so exposed to like being at the forefront, I try to chill in back. So what's been really interesting is in certain spaces where I'm not trying to lead, I'm all the way at the front. And I'm like, I just want to sit and take notes. Like I was just trying to put my lip gloss on and just look cute. But when I am in those spaces where I'm meeting new people and building new relationships, my goal is how can I make sure that they feel heard authentically? I think when you go to conferences and you're networking and all this other things, it's been painted as, what can you do for me? What can you do for me?
100%.
What can you, right? And so my goal there is, how can I listen to you? What has happened in this last week that you're really excited about? Instead of, hi, my name is Susanna Briscoe Alba. I lead Dunamis. You have money because I need it. You know what I mean? Like, what? Nobody wants to be around that type of individual. But when you're talking to people and you're genuinely interested in what gets them excited, and you are there present just to listen, then there's reciprocity. Then they want to know, well, tell me about you. What's going on with you? What's exciting for you? So when I'm in those spaces, I just want to get to know who you are and what lights you up, especially entrepreneurs, because we're carrying so much. And some days we're the marketing team, we're the podcast team, we're the operations team, like we're everything, you know? And so there are moments where no one has stopped to ask you, how are you? What's going on with you? How can I encourage and support you? And again, because I'm such a faith-based person, typically my response is, what can I pray for?
That part.
Where do you need breakthrough? Because I know where my limitations are and I know what I'm struggling with. But in the same token, I know that I'm not the only one that's struggling. And I know that perhaps that's not the way that other people engage or encounter. So I can't tell you how many times I've asked somebody, where do you need breakthrough? Where do you need me to pray for you? What do you need me to pray for? And like tears immediately start to come out because it's like, finally, you know? So that's the way that I try my very best to engage with people, which is interesting because I've always done that, even in the workplace. I can't tell you how many times people would come and sit at a round table in my office and it looked like we were meeting, but it would be like, Susanna, I need you to pray for me because I'm struggling. I'd be like, all right, open your notebook, act like you're taking notes, and Jesus and Father God. I'd be looking at my computer and pretending to type. But there is something so powerful that happens when you create that kind of environment. And I think that people can just show up in vulnerability without feeling like you're going to be abused. And as entrepreneurs, we are very guarded. So when you find someone like me, it can go one of two ways. Who are you?
What's your angle?
What is it that you want? And I worked also in insurance. So like a good neighbor, stay over there. Right? But then in the same token, it's like, oh, you really care. It's like, yeah, I do. I mean, I don't have to if you don't want me to, but you have this opportunity.
I think the beauty, and I think a part of what we're trying to do, I think somebody said, like, you know, a lot of times we work in silos. And so we're all kind of panicked about where the world's going, irrespective of beliefs.
Facts.
At the same time. And so you think you're by yourself, but then if you really look, it's kind of like this constellation and everyone's their own bright star.
Yeah.
And if you draw the lines and you realize there's millions of people doing this thing.
Absolutely.
And so I think what's really beautiful is like how you create spaces for people to be reflective, to take chances, to ask questions. And so I'm not shocked that you were who you were at the other job because you allowed people to show up as their full self and honor that.
Yeah.
And so what happens in this world if we normalize actually being a human being? And right now it feels like everybody's guarded because it's like if I make a mistake and they catch it on camera or someone tells someone else, it's a wrap. Yeah. So people feel really vulnerable. I'm curious, what would you tell your 10-year-old self?
Ooh, child. What would I tell 10-year-old Susanna? Dream bigger. I've always been a big dreamer. And I've always had a certain level of tenacity that I think I got from my mama because she had a sense of fearlessness. But in my lived experience now, what I thought was big and impossible, I achieved. And so that's why I would tell Susanna, 10-year-old Susanna, dream bigger. I'll give you an example. I remember I used to commute for high school in the city. I don't know what kid didn't. And I used to take the train. I lived in the Bronx and I went to school in Soho. So you can get an idea of how far that commute was. And I was very loyal, almost to a fault. And one of my friends had given me a what they call a mind teaser. It was like this thing that you had to take apart and then put together. And one of the pieces dropped into the train tracks. And without thinking twice, I went down to the train tracks to get it because it wasn't mine. And I had to give it back to my friend. And as I am in the train tracks, on, I believe it was 125th Street, where the D and the B were coming, my aunt pulled up in another train. And now she's like arriving to all of this commotion because everybody's looking over the platform like there's somebody in the tracks and there's a train coming.
Oh my gosh.
And when she looked into the tracks, it was me.
Like, what?
Exactly. She said every curse word I think she knows in English and in Spanish and probably made some up. But that was just like the level of fearlessness that I had. And I've had that since I was a little girl. And so by no surprise, my son carries that as well. But when I was dealing with that, I got home and I remember telling my mom, I jumped into the tracks to get this from my friend. And like, it was very matter-of-factly when I said it. And my aunt sat in my kitchen for 3 hours because her nervous system was on a zillion because she's witnessing me in the train tracks. There is a literal train coming. There are people on the platform telling me, run, 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 so that you could get to the beginning of the platform and get to the stairs. I grabbed what I needed to grab, ran to the stairs, and just came back to the platform like nothing happened. And my aunt was like, you are one of a kind.
You one of them ones.
Yes. You are one of a kind. And my mom was just like mortified, but also like, I'm not surprised. That is Susanna. So when I think about younger Susanna, it's always kind of been weaved into the reality of who I am, that I was going to go against the grain. So that's why I'm like, just dream bigger, girl. Dream bigger.
I love that. That story is, it's terrifying and hilarious at the same time. And the fact that it was like, no biggie, I just got to get the piece. I want to make sure they get their toy.
And if you know my family, you would know, well, you know my older sister. We look a lot alike, but we operate real different. My sister is very much the one who is very calculated, very strategic, very critical, analytical in thinking. A walking ball of sugar. Like you just want to hug her all the time. Nice. Yeah. Also super brilliant, right? And so growing up under her, and I'm going to say under her shadow, not in a bad way, but just growing up under her, and then you meet me, you're like, wait a second. Y'all like related, and then you see us and you're like, okay, you can't deny that they're related.
They
but when
when
you see the way that two of us operate, you're like, this one's definitely the wild one. But it's just been, that would probably be the what I would tell younger Susanna, just dream bigger. Dream bigger.
We're going to be wrapping up soon, but I have a couple questions still left. One, how do you talk to yourself when you make a mistake? Like we're big on really thinking about, like, you seem like a very compassionate person, probably to other people, but I'm always curious, like, how do you talk to yourself?
I think, well, when I talk to myself, old Susanna would have been like, I can't believe you made that mistake. Like, you know better. How could you fall for that? Now it's just like, okay, what did we learn? And not only what did we learn, what do we implement? Because I think a lot of people feel stuck in their life right now because we've have so much information.
Too much, almost.
But what we lack is implementation.
Mm.
And so information without implementation will lead to your stagnation. And so I want to continue to move. So in those seasons where I've made a mistake, it's like, okay, we live through it. We're not going to let a stage become a state. What did we learn and what can we? So that's where I am right now. Even as the business is growing and as it's shifting, there have been mistakes because I've never done this before, right? So now it's just like, okay, what did we learn and how can we continue moving?
Man, I love that. So we have two questions we ask every guest.
Let's do it.
The first question, arguably the most important, is what does it mean to be a kind soul?
Ooh, being a kind soul means making sure that you are true to who you are and not confusing being nice with being kind.
That part.
Nice is I'm just going to kind of fade into the background. I'll let people kind of make their own opinions. I'm not going to ruffle any feathers. Kind is being able to articulate your value from a place of worth and not from a place of seeking validation. You're already worthy.
I love that. Y'all, this was a whole free masterclass. So rewind it, chop it up, do what you got to do. And the other question we have is a little bit more serious in the sense of like, there are people struggling really bad every day. I think I cry every morning for those people because
It's heavy. Mm-hmm.
So that's your camera.
Okay.
We ask everybody who comes on to give that person out there who's watching this right now some advice to help them continue to walk forward.
Yeah. I want to be intentional with what I say, so just give me a minute. You are loved beyond measure. And while it is difficult right now in this season, your breakthrough is closer than you realize. And for every tear, for every grunt, for every emotion that makes it feel like it's best if I just were not here, let me be the one to encourage you and tell you that you are loved and we deeply need you. So I hope that encourages you today and helps you to feel seen. I'm not trying to say that it is easy or that it'll be rainbows and unicorns, but you, my love, are worthy of love. You are loved deeply, and you have a call and purpose on your life like no one else on this earth.
Man, listen, y'all, I'm so grateful for you being here. Gave me goosebumps. Just thank you for your authenticity. Thank you for what you're doing for so many women out there who otherwise feel like no one's listening and no one's coming. Like you've showed up for them. And so I hope that you join us again whenever you'd like.
I will.
All right, y'all. I just want to say thank you so much for y'all watching us every day. Know that don't let anyone take the joy out your joy because they don't have the right to do that. And most importantly, raise the vibration of kindness on a global scale.
And can we thank Ebony for saying yes to this? I am so proud of you and I am so grateful for this opportunity. So thank you.
All right, y'all. We're going to go. Peace.
Bye, everyone.